Hello? Is this on? Yeah, okay. All right, so we're going to try something. I'm going to come over here. Going to take my one TED Talk chance. This is my TED Talk. I am Amanda Finuccio, and I'm going to talk to you about moms who make books. This was made by a lot of moms, including mine, who's right over there. So my project's about sexual health education, but not so much this kind. A little bit more of this kind. And I chose sexual health because when I moved to New York City, I found myself in some feminist sex circles, and we'd get into lots of conversations about shame and fear and guilt. And I started to think about where we even get our sexual health messages. So I wanted to explore the state of sexual health education today. So my conversations with women conjured up this image. Conversations were filled with highs and lows, lots of confusion. And so a big part of this was, where do we even get these messages? Why do they feel confusing? What feels high? What feels low? So my initial research took me to this insight that most sexual health education organizations are pushing for earlier education and more frequent education. And why? When adolescents were asked for feedback, they said, guys, get this ball rolling a little sooner, and we might be okay. So with that in mind, I checked out these 4 environments where sexual health education takes place. When it comes to school, most education is provided between the ages of 11 and 18. That's a combination of middle school and high school. And according to the CDC, middle school education is about annually 3 hours, and high school education is about annually 4 hours. But this is the trick. Sex education is only required in 24 states in the United States, and then there's a few more variables that stack up there: your district, your school, your instructor. So when it comes to the internet, by 13 to 17, 73% of adolescents have a cell phone, and as one of the moms I worked with like to put it, that means they have access to everything from puppies to porn in under 3 seconds. And when it comes to pediatricians, appointments take place annually, and they use those opportunities to have milestone conversations. For example, at 6, they focus on good touch, bad touch. At 9, puberty. And at 13, they start to talk about contraception and STDs. That said, most conversations are reported to last less than 40 seconds, so a whole lot's not happening. And when it comes to parents, every family is totally different, but most parents said that they use puberty and menstruation as the start of more substantial conversations. So there's a little bit of a gap in how we get there. So when I looked at the entire landscape, most education was focusing on preteen and teenage years, which then led me to think, okay, so how do we get to the years that lead up to that? So I wanted to know now, who has the most influence in this space? Who are children listening to the most? It's their parents. No shocker here. And so I wanted to know why. Why are parents so important? And the messages and the values that they create in their space, that is the home, have a lasting impact on their behaviors and their decisions. Plus, they get to interact with their kids all the time. So kids are mimicking behavior. They're listening to lots of things. They're giant sponges. And so within parents, I wanted to focus on moms. I had a personal interest in women, but most sexual health educators within the family were identified to be moms. Dads, step it up. We'll talk about that later. And so from here, I worked with 12 moms across 2 cities. Miami is my hometown, and so we had a few mom connections there. And then here in New York City, where I partnered with 2 organizations on getting moms to get interested in talking to me. And so when I started my research, there was just this very human, loving connection to want to be close to their children. They wanted to raise good humans. They want their kids to know they can talk to them, see them as sources of information, especially when you consider the internet absolutely terrifying. And that kind of led them to this place of, I want to be the person who's talking, but I don't know what to say, and I don't know when to say it, and I'm constantly level setting, and I'm pretty sure I said the wrong thing, so what do I do? This fear leads to a lot of reaction versus preparation. Mom's kind of freaking out of, I told her an answer, I'm not really sure that was the right answer, and now I need to go backtrack in 5 years and tell her I kind of lied. So that came up and happened a lot. So I asked myself this question of, could we create a supportive space where moms could explore the values and messages that they wanted to share so they could prepare for the conversations they wanted to have that would build them to these strong relationships that they really wanted. And so my next question for them was, where do you get information? Because moms were also sometimes using the internet, but more than that, they were reaching out to other women, to other parents, and they were reading a lot of books. So I wanted to know, okay, cool, you read books. What do your kids do? What do you want your kids to be doing? They also want their kids to be reading books. And so at this point, moms want books, kids want books, everyone's on board. I love books. So I created these two sets of criteria. This is for moms, and this is for daughters. Imaginative, tech-free, age-appropriate. We're going to utilize the knowledge of women, and we're going to use that to build relationships with kids. And so from here, Moms Makes Books is born, and for about 4 months, I got to make books with a lot of cool women who I think are total rock stars. And essentially, it's a bookmaking workshop where moms get together because they want sexual health education to start at home. So it works a little bit like this. We choose an age-appropriate topic based on the ages of mom's children. So because our age range is 4 to 12, it definitely operated within that space. And we got the village together. Then they wrote about the messages they wanted to share. We'll get into that process. And then they drew to visualize those messages, and they combined them into books. And I did this over 4 months across 2 different cities, and we did it 4 times. So the village is a complete and total force. You get moms in a room, they're gabbing, they're sharing stories, they're finding commonality, they're seeking advice from each other. They really enjoyed that some moms had children who were older because it kind of gave them like an insight into the future. So they were like, thank you, I need to hear this. I don't want to talk about this. I'm going to go home and do that now. And then when it came to writing, after moms had already connected, one of the things that they shared with me was, I'm dying to improve my personal experience growing up. My parents didn't tell me anything. That cannot be me. I don't want to be that parent. So writing, I took an approach from a writer and cartoonist, Linda Berry. She, for all of her workshops, has people write from memory as a source of creativity. So we did something like this. You'd start with a topic, for example, body image. Then you would create a list of the first 10 images that come to mind. Then you choose one that conjures up a vivid memory or a vivid message that you received as a child, and then we write about it for about 8 to 10 minutes. And then from there, moms would share, laughter ensued, lots of fun things ensued, and they would synthesize that message into about 2 to 3 sentences that would serve as the content for the book. This didn't always work. Some moms, not stoked about revisiting their past, weren't very crazy about the fact that memory was the source of content. And so when that happened, we improvised a little bit, and we started with group conversation. I harvested some topics, and then from those topics, they chose one, followed the same writing structure, and got a message that reflected more present-day conversations. Drawing. Drawing is intimidating. I learned this by trying to draw with friends. I quickly learned that drawing is less intimidating if you do it with other people. So this was one of the first things we tried, just to kind of get their hands moving. Many people claimed that they had not held a crayon in years. And so we tried this exercise, which is called the Jam Book, which I got from a professor who has a background in creative writing and comics. Crazy fun. So you start with 8 panels. Moms would break up their message across these 8 panels. They illustrate the first panel, and then every minute, for 8 minutes, they rotate until all the moms in the room have contributed to their story. And what's great about this is if you're not really sure how to make abstract and literal images, you get ideas from other moms. And what was even great is that moms ended up using some other moms' ideas. Come book making was like, could you make this for me? Because I want it in my book, but I'm not going to do it. So that was pretty exciting. So these are books. Moms made some killer books. This workshop focused on body image, and here moms explored what it means to feel good enough. What is good enough even? How do you take care of yourself? How do you understand that you're unique, that you're special, that you're beautiful? At this other workshop, they focused on consent and boundaries. How do you understand that your body is yours? How do you take control of it? How do you tell people no? How do you say yes? They wanted to focus on diversity. I want to teach my kid that bodies look different, that it's okay to look different. I want them to know that theirs is exceptional. And I wanted to use, so now you see that the collaborative drawing then translated into this. And she had exceptional drawing skills, so she was definitely a front runner in this game. And 2 of the workshops included childcare. Childcare is kind of like a magic sauce in this entire process. It allows moms to bring the kids there and come time to make. It served as a really great opportunity to just initiate conversation in the moment, so daughters could draw with their moms, create stories with their moms, and it gave me the opportunity to see what that interaction looks like. One story from Benny, who I was fortunate enough to have her come to one of my workshops. She made this wonderful book for her daughter about feeling beautiful always and representing yourself as you want to be represented and having control of your body. And killed it with construction paper. And her daughter was there, and so when she shared the book with Una, Una made her own book with all the confetti. And I'm gonna read it out loud. You are part of the ocean, you are sparkly, you are golden, you are beautiful, you are you. Another mom who came to a workshop but whose child wasn't present made a book as well, and when she got home and shared it with her daughter, she made this art piece as a response to that, melting, so much melting. And overall in the experience, moms had some really just warm feedback for me, which was, Jordana said, I never have this time for myself. I never make with my other parts of my brain, and I'm always strategizing with my child, so it's just complicated to figure out your thoughts in the moment. Michelle just immediately saw the value of the book. There was a little bit of a struggle in the beginning, but we got there, and she was really excited to use it as a conversation point for her child, and she felt really motivated to continue making more stories with her daughter. And Natalia saw this as a complete and total reflection space. She, in one of our circles was just like, I think about these things, but I don't think I've ever explicitly told my daughter, like, this is how I think you should think about your body. This is how I think about my body. And I didn't notice that until I was deep into my 30s and was like, I need to give her these life hacks. Like, she will suffer, but maybe I could help her suffer a little less. And so as I think about next steps, I'm pretty excited about the space that this was able to create for moms. And I do think that it's something I'd like to continue. And my heart completely and totally melted when I heard one mom say to the other, I want to buy your book. So from here, the vision totally exploded for me. And I just kept thinking about what an entire platform of mom-authored content would look like. And then back to dads, what would it look like to involve fathers in the mix? And then what would it look like to get families making books? Could we have daughters and moms collaborating, daughters and dads collaborating? Could the whole family just be making books, creating their own stories? So books made by families to create and strengthen conversation and relationships at home. So I'd like to partner with more parent-child education spaces, like the Brooklyn Public Library, Planned Parenthood, Girl Scouts of America, and I'd like to keep it going. But before I do that, I have so many people to thank. First and foremost, to all the moms who participated in this with me. Your willingness to share your stories, your hopes and dreams was my education, and I'm super grateful for that. To my mom and to my dad, who've been patient. And to Cheryl Heller for even starting this program so I could even stand on this stage. To Benny for her offering her time in times that she didn't necessarily need to. To my cohort for listening. To the first years for asking questions. And to my single moms, Andrea and Geraldine Powell. They've been my complete and total family throughout this process. So go make books, talk about sex, love your children. Thank you.